minus 38. Give yourselves a hand. In true Alberta fashion, I've got to say. Just a couple more minutes. We got a couple of technical issues we're just working on. So come on in and make yourself at home, and we're going to start here in just a couple of minutes. So you know Mr. Brett Oland, his flight was canceled on the tarmac in Calgary. So he is quickly rushing home. He's going to join us live stream right here. We kind of got caught unprepared with some audio cables and things. We're going to try to make it work. We have an extra microphone. We're hoping it's going to be okay. And we're going to forge ahead. And in true Alberta fashion. So give us just a couple of minutes. Make yourselves at home. We're in Alberta.
Oh, excellent. I just keep moving over. Musical chair. I thought it was too much. I haven't called it and I just moved at the end of September. Back to family, back to my roots. But yeah, that's what happened. Just for like all the stuff like this, because remember it's so far away. So and then I'm like, I miss like Tucker Carlson. There's so many events there. I have to live there and then travel here because I always have people to stay with here.
Look, you saw what I.
Oh yeah.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I just want to welcome you all here this evening on behalf of the Alberta Prosperity Project. We're happy you're here. In fact, part of us is amazed that you're here at this temperature. So well done. And yeah, please. So we're very excited to have Mr. Brett Oland from the Bow Valley Credit Union with us via live stream this evening. Just as soon as Reg gets his tech happening here, we're going to zoom into Brett and we're going to let him hold the floor. From what I understand, he's still on the freeway. And so we're gonna kill a few minutes here, and so this would be the time to pull out all my worst jokes. But rather than that, I thought that I would just introduce myself first. I'm Dave Long. I'm your MC tonight, and I'm going to be just talking a little bit about what APP is about. Now, how many people here have no idea what Alberta Prosperity Project is actually about? Okay, one person. Good, sir, you're in the right place tonight. And the rest of you, is there any non-members here? Okay, there's a few of you, okay. I'm going to talk a little bit about what the Alberta Prosperity Project is about, just for your information. And if you wish, at the end of evening or during the break, there's some wonderful ladies at the back table over here that would be happy to sign you up for a membership. And we have other things upcoming too, some announcements. I'll get into that. So what is the Alberta Prosperity Project? Well, there's a whole bunch of things about Alberta Prosperity Project that are designed to try to fix the things that we all kind of know in the gut of our stomach are wrong with our province. This is an initiative to begin the process of change. It's a conversation, it's a two-way conversation involving Albertans and involving people that have got strategies in place to try to fix Alberta's position within Confederation. So people have said, oh, Alberta Prosperity Project, oh, this is a sovereignty movement. Well, that's part of it. If you're going to go and you're going to negotiate at a table, you have to come with something to negotiate with. And the truth of the matter is Alberta has been in a very, very poor negotiation position for a very, very long time. In fact, Alberta's never really had a good negotiation position. We hope to change that through a number of tactics. So there's much more to the discussion on Alberta sovereignty. The problem that Alberta has not had a political power of any kind in relation to the federal government. In order to definitively resolve federal-provincial conflict, the Constitution Act of 1982 would have to be substantially changed. And that is impossible given the 5 hurdles that would have to be overcome to open and change the Constitution. And I'm just going to read a few things from Dr. Modry's footnotes here concerning APP and one of the reasons why APP exists. And I'll let you answer your own question, and then you'll understand. Are you fed up with being overgoverned, overregulated, and overtaxed? Yeah. Show of hands, please. Okay. Are you angry about the relentless attacks on our fossil fuel industry? Are you fed up with the idea of a carbon tax? Yes. Are you fed up with the federal anti-human net zero climate policies that will do nothing to benefit the planet or change the climate? Yes. Are you aware that 1,609 climate scientists, including 2 Nobel Prize winners, have recently signed a World Climate Declaration stating that there is no climate emergency and that anthropogenic CO2 is actually beneficial for the planet? Are you aware concerned about the federal mandate to achieve net zero 2035? Are you concerned about the attack on our food supply by the federal restrictions limiting the use of nitrogen-based fertilizer by our farmers? Yes. Are you fed up with wokeness, cancel culture, CRT, tearing down monuments, and rewriting history? Yes. Absolutely. Are you concerned about the World Economic Forum UN federal agenda to implement the Great Reset with its digital ID? social governance, social credit score to track your every move, control everything that you do, everything that you buy, and anywhere you might want to travel. The European Union is currently trying to introduce a block-wide digital identity app that would consolidate various personal information, including passports, driver's license, medical history, a concept that was recently approved at the recent G20 summit. Any concerns over that?
Yes.
Indeed. Okay, does it bother you that the federal government tells you that you do not have a national identity or the right to own property? Are you fed up with biological males competing in female sports? Are you fed up with authorities pushing the use of puberty blockers and surgical mutilation of children before the age of consent, which is 18? Are you fed up with the progressive immunization of parents' rights to bring up their own children? Are you fed up with the loss of freedom for parents to be the moral, social, and cultural pillar of society to pass on principles, beliefs, values, morals, ethical behavior, accountability, knowledge, and critical thinking to future generations? Are you fed up with the healthcare system functioning in the lowest quartile of quality at the highest quartile of cost?
Yes.
Are you fed up with medical dictatorship?
Yes.
Are you fed up with the federal government and the liberal media blocking conservative speech? Now, I don't know how many people here follow Rebel News. If I say the word, the name David Menzies, does that mean anything to anybody in the last 24 hours? There has been a violation of our freedom of speech, our freedom of press in this country. A huge violation.
And exactly who was he blocking?
Yes, precisely.
That white coat.
That's right. Yeah. Are you fed up with diversity, equity, and inclusion as the basis for hiring or advancement of scholarship? Are you fed up with corruption in government, fiscal mismanagement, and an ever-growing federal bureaucracy?
Yes.
Are you fed up with this federal government?
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen?
Yes.
Okay, so at Alberta Prosperity Project, it is our primary focus to educate and inspire all Albertans on the rationale and merits of empowering the provincial government to restructure Alberta's relationship with Canada. Why? Since joining Confederation in 1905, Alberta has been treated as a colony to serve the interests of Eastern Canada at Alberta's expense, as planned by Clifford Sifton, the Liberal Minister of the Interior in 1904. He was largely responsible for bringing Alberta into Confederation. Alberta's subservience to Ottawa was exacerbated by the 1980 National Energy Policy, which was designed to prevent Alberta from ever again becoming the center of economic power in Canada, as stated by Mark Oland, the federal Liberal minister responsible for the National Energy Program. Back in the day, how many people remember the National Energy Program? As a result of the aforementioned, there exists an imbalance in power between Ottawa and Alberta, and that no Alberta government has hitherto been able to overcome, and the imbalance is getting worse. Now, increasingly, federal attacks by Ottawa on our freedoms, self-determination, and hydrocarbon industries have created an existential threat to our way of life and economic well-being, a threat that will come to fruition if we do nothing. Now, I can go on and on. On your seats, you would have found the document that I'm reading. Please take this home. It covers all of the most of the issues that Alberta Prosperity Project is trying to address. And I'm sure that if you have any questions, you can forward that on to your local chapter leaders. And I want to encourage everybody to please get involved with your local chapters. Your participation and the momentum that you are bringing is monumental to the success of Alberta within the Confederation, within or without. And if we have to go to the bargaining table with that as leverage, then let's do it. So let's talk a bit about Mr. Oland. Tonight, he's going to be here not to talk about some of the points that you're going to find in your paper on your chairs. He's going to talk about more financial related issues. Now, Mr. Oland, as you know, is the CEO and president of the Bow Valley Credit Union. He's been in that position for 5 years. He is a past board director of Credit Union Central of Alberta for 7 years, 3 years as chair, 1 year as vice chair. Past board of directors of Bow Valley Credit Union for 6 years, 2 years as chair. He's a 20-year chartered professional accountant, Canadian professional accountant. He is 8 years with the Institute of Corporate Directors designation from the Rotman University of Toronto. He has his Bachelor of Commerce from the University of Calgary, 20 years in the banking industry. And I'll just speak a little bit about the credit union system and why it may be of interest to us as individual Albertans. I sat on a credit union board for 8 years, and I perceived at the time that we were a municipal credit union. We were an $18 million credit union in Fairview, just north of Grande Prairie here. And we merged with a regional credit union. And a short time after that, we merged with a provincial credit union. Now, has there been more mergers after that fact? Well, that's going to be a question that I personally am going to have for Mr. Oland. How far has it gone, all of these consolidations? Because I believe that that's part of the reason why we're in the trouble that we're in, is consolidation after consolidation after consolidation, only answerable to the federal government. And when they want to freeze your bank account, they can do it. The credit union has consolidated themselves to some degree, but they're still under supervision from the Alberta Central Credit Union Authority. Now, how far has it gone beyond that? What is the reporting structure to the federal government? These are questions that you may want to ask Mr. Oland, because after all, I believe a lot of you are probably here tonight because you're interested in conserving your autonomy over your own assets. Is this true?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, good.
Kind of a big deal.
It's a big deal. It's a big deal. It is. So, Mr. Oland is a expert on these subjects, and as soon as Reg has a live stream for us, then we're going to proceed.
No sign of him yet. So
Yeah.
I just asked him if he was home yet. So
Okay.
no answer.
Deerfoot's probably a disaster.
So maybe we take a little break until
Yeah.
this is him calling now.
Okay. Good.
I have a question
Yes.
for everybody.
Hi there.
You don't have to answer this, and I don't want you to answer this tonight.
Yes, Brett.
Or here now. I just want everybody to think about this question.
Hello.
If you're thinking of making your own country, where's that stream of revenue going to come from?
Hello, Brett.
Yeah.
Are we going to institute our own gold and silver reserve?
Yes.
Are we going to forge
Hello,
a
Brett.
relationship with the current lenders, which means going around Ottawa and meeting and sitting down and talking with each and every one of them? We're talking about IMF, Bank of England, and then our local chartered banks.
Yes. Yeah. So the question is,
I'm not finished. I'm
oh, he's not finished.
I'm going to elaborate this question some more.
Sure.
In the American experience, they were doing the same thing, thinking about the same thing, and asking the same questions. Was that a more dangerous time for them to do it? Because when the signers of the Declaration of Independence put their John Hancock on that document,
Mhm.
they were pledging each of their own personal fortunes to that treasury, to that idea.
Yes.
And simultaneously, they knew that they were open to arrest and execution just for signing that document.
Yes.
They knew
Yes.
that success has enemies.
Yes, and it's a valid question, and I appreciate that question very much. And the best, and you're talking a lot about American experiences, seeking sovereignty within the American experience. Canada has had its own experience as of late, and as recent as 1998, and that's Quebec. And because of that experience, there was a court challenge, and the Supreme Court actually did deem that Quebec had a right within Confederation to leave if they wanted over 50% of the population plus one. And the court came back and said, yes, they do have the right to do that. So on the heels of that, Alberta is following in those footsteps. We do have a right to decide that as Albertans for ourselves. We can direct our futures if 50% plus one will agree to that. And that is an argument, and I'm not the expert on all of the details, the signing of declarations and putting personal assets up for security and all that sort of thing. But there are people within APP that are. And so it's an excellent question, and it does really bring to the road of sovereignty. Are we there? We're not anywhere near that right now. We actually need 500,000
I
signatures.
just wanted people to think about that
Yes,
question
it's a great
and
question.
to deliberate and to discuss that, because that's what you're looking at. If you're looking at some things, there's some details that matter.
The details will happen when and if we end up at a bargaining table within Confederation, and we have nothing else but to say, then fine. We were part of this Confederation since 1905. We came as good neighbors, and if we're no longer being treated that way, then we have some options. And I think any one of us would behave that way if somebody came into our homes and started treating us poorly. There would come a point where we would have to ask them to leave. And that's just fundamental humanity right there. So that's what we're up against. We're not anywhere near that yet, but we are heading in that direction. I do believe that we have to go the way of Quebec within Confederation in order to get a voice so we can actually be heard out here. Thank you for that.
Thank you.
Okay, so
Winter roads. He says he's another 20 minutes out.
20 minutes. Okay, I'm going to have to resort to them jokes here pretty quick. Okay, well, I'm going to give you a little bit of announcement. How many people are aware that Tucker Carlson and Rex Murphy and Conrad Black, love them or hate them, but all very much the same mindset, two from a Canadian perspective and one from an American perspective, are going to be at Edmonton, which is at Rogers Place?
Yep.
Rogers Place on January 24th, live in Edmonton. And the tickets are $175. You save money by buying them through APP. You can contact
Go through Alberta Prosperity
Alberta
website.
Prosperity website and get that information. And it acts also as a bit of a fundraiser for the Alberta Prosperity Project. We've got a couple of other things happening fairly soon. On January 27th in Peace River, we're going to be putting on our first APP musical sponsored event. We're calling it The River's Gonna Break. Something's got to give. The river's gonna break, and we basically hired the best band in Grande Prairie to come up the Peace River, the Steve Castle Band, ladies and gentlemen. I don't know how many of you are familiar, but they're a cooking band, and they're going to be up in Peace River on January 27th, and February 10th they're going to be here at the Jackpot Event Center, and they're going to be basically putting on the same show. If you come on out, you're going to hear a short speech by the CEO of the Alberta Prosperity Project, Mr. Chris Scott. Mr. Chris Scott is the holdout against the COVID mandates, the Whistle Stop Cafe. He's quite a fellow. He's a punk. He's a grassroots guy. He's a Albertan, right through to the heart. And it'll be a pleasure to have him come out to the January 27th event in Peace River and speak, as well as the February 10th event at the Jackpot Event Center here in Grande Prairie. So come on out. The tickets are $35. It's mostly going to be dancing, socializing. We're going to hear the message of the CEO, and it'll be brief. But we want to also bring culture back to Alberta, and culture that is by Albertans for Albertans. Yes, question to that. There is alcohol. By Albertans, there you go. Yes, there will be alcohol there. There will be a concession there, and hope to see you guys come on out. These things have to be attended well for them to succeed and move forward. We're using this as a template to actually move into other parts of the province. There's how many chapters?
50.
There's 50 chapters in the province. Some of them are quite a bit more active than others, and we're hoping to stimulate those chapters by bringing some culture to their doorsteps. So come on out and support those endeavors, please. Invite your friends and family. It's going to be a great time and a good way to beat the winter blues. Okay, there is also going to be upcoming the Alberta Pension Plan Tour. The upcoming Alberta Prosperity Pact, let me reword that. The upcoming Alberta Prosperity Project Tour on the APP, the Alberta Pension Plan. Okay, so that was a mouthful. Now, the Alberta Pension Plan, as you know, is being proposed by our provincial government to privatize or provincialize, if you wish, and break away from the CPP, the federal program. And there's a lot of talk surrounding that. There's a lot of misinformation. Please come when that comes out in March, and stay tuned for the date and the location. But when that comes, we're going to be talking with economist Tanner Hindley and two other panel members. Watch for that information. It's going to be good, and it will be actual, factual. Now take a look at the poster at the back, posted on the poster. This is for the Peace River event, and there'll be another poster floating around for the February 10th Grande Prairie event too. The River's going to break tour.
Still no word. So how about we break until we got Brett on?
Okay, we're going to take a quick break, and we're going to wait for Brett. And if there's any really good jokes that you think I should tell, then I'm going to take a stab. Yeah, let's take a break.
Brett, you can hear us here in Grande Prairie?
I need a sound check. I need him to talk.
We're just going to do a sound check here. Could you keep on talking, Brett? We'll need the crowd to mute it or something. Nope, he's not muted.
Can he phone in?
And how? And then what?
We'd be up against the same thing with the speaker.
Do we need to ask the crowd to be quiet?
We're just going to test.
The mic. Okay, we got Brett. Tell him we got Brett on. We'll do the sound check here.
So, ladies and gentlemen, come on in and take a seat. We have Brett Oland on the line. And we're going to do a quick sound check now. We do apologize in advance. We're caught unaware with our audio requirements. We thought Brett would be here in person, of course. So I think we have WestJet to thank for that. But he's not. And we are going to try to actually just use a microphone on the speaker of a laptop computer. We're hoping it's going to work. So we may have to keep our murmur to a minimum if we're hoping to hear his commentation.
The stage.
Okay.
Okay, go ahead now.
Hello, Mr. Orland. Can you hear me?
He's frozen.
Can you hear me okay? Thumbs up if you can hear me okay. You can hear me. Now, can you just tell us a bit about yourself? We're going to see if we can hear you. This is the issue.
No audio from Brett.
No audio from Brett. So that is the fault of him, or is that the fault of the computer?
Echo cancellation, reduce mic background noise.
Okay, we're just working on the technical details here, Brett.
Brett, are you connected to your Bluetooth on your car? No. Yeah, I'm not even getting him on the.
He's not even.
No, not even coming through at all, Brett.
Are you muted, Brett?
Doesn't show to be. I heard just one little sliver. Yeah, Brett, we could see your lips moving, but we're not hearing you here on the computer, and then therefore not in the hall. Okay, so I'm not sure if he went back he was in his car, maybe he's jumping into his house now.
Can't do it on a speakerphone on his cell, just without the video? Just a speakerphone?
Yeah, even if we could just get audio.
He's logged back in. Okay, go ahead, Brett.
Hello, Brett, can you hear us?
I'm going to try what someone in the crowd suggested here. If you hang up, Brett, I'm going to give you a call, see if we could do it audio only. Brett? Hello, Brett. Not hearing you here as either. I could hear you fine now. Was it the earbuds then that were not working? Okay, do you want to try back with without the earbuds? Okay, well, one more try. It's his earbuds that are not working.
Okay, I'll tell you a real sad story while we're waiting. Do you want to hear a sad story? I'm going to tell you. This one's for you. Okay, so one of the reasons that I'm here and involved.
Hello?
In the prosperity project.
Sorry, you have to wait on the story.
You're going to have to wait for your sad story, Leanne. I'm sorry. Do we have him? Hello, Brett. Can you hear me okay?
Darn. Brett, could you talk?
Shows he's muted.
Okay. Why?
Shows he's muted.
Hello.
Hello, Brett. How are you tonight?
Oh, at least I'm a popsicle in the air.
Well, thank you for joining us, and it's unfortunate that your flight was canceled. This is going to work, we hope, just fine, and we do look forward to the comments that you have this evening concerning the beauty of credit unions versus the chartered situation in the country, and anything that you can have to offer to folks that are considering moving assets or hedging themselves from government overreach and so forth. So I'm going to let you talk a little bit, and you're just going to fine tune your audio. So go ahead, Brett, and tell us a bit about yourself, and then we're going to give you the floor.
Sure. Is this audio okay right now?
Go. Keep on talking, Brett. We'll adjust as you talk.
Okay. Yeah, as mentioned, my name's Brett Oland. I'm the CEO of Bow Valley Credit Union, and I'm sorry that I couldn't be up there with you in person. Lot of challenges, but I'd sooner be a popsicle on the ground than one in the air. So, yeah, thanks all for coming out. Really appreciate it, and hopefully we can catch up next time when the weather cooperates a little bit more. Just opening remarks about the difference between a credit union and say something like a chartered bank. Firstly, a credit union is member owned. So each member, when you come on board with a credit union, you buy into common shares, and that's as little as $25 with Bow Valley Credit Union. And once you do that, you become a voting member of Bow Valley Credit Union, and you can actually dictate the board of directors as well as bylaws for the organization, as well as direction of the organization. And so that's a considerable, much better position, in my opinion, than with a bigger bank or ATB, where you don't get any say in how the financial institution operates. Yeah. Secondly, we're locally based, so none of the decisions are sent to Toronto for decision making. We have all local staff that make decisions on your behalf, as well as we have 100% deposit guarantee compared to the bigger banks, which only have about $100,000 guarantee unless you stack it properly. So those are some considerable differences between a credit union and a bigger bank. Just specifically about Bow Valley Credit Union, we have gotten a lot of attention in the last number of years, and it's really based around our value set as an organization. And we've just done things a lot differently. Three things mainly. During COVID, it was a difficult decision at the time, but I'm glad we made it. We never forced our staff to get vaccinated. We're here to provide a financial service to our memberships, full stop. We're not here to dictate vaccination status, health status, marital status, any kind of status. We're here just to help people with their finances, and that's all we do. Secondly, during the trucker convoy, it struck me as very off as soon as the Trudeau government came out with wanting to freeze people's accounts. We were one of the only ones, if not the only one, basically suggesting if you want to freeze people's accounts, we better see some documentation behind this. We better see some court orders. We better see some RCMP orders. We better see something. And nothing ever came. We never received one phone call, nor one email, nor one letter regarding freezing people's we are pretty well known for our gold initiative, and after all the currency printing that they did during COVID, after they shut down hundreds or even thousands of businesses and sent people home, we thought that inflation would come out in spades, and sure enough it did. And we wanted to be able to protect not only our membership but our organization of now what we say is a perpetual inflation going forward, at least for the 20 decade. We see inflation continuing to run quite hot, and we see the problem only getting against
Yeah, I think he will, for sure. But we just had 40 people and it just kind of happened last minute. So we decided to try to still have a conversation with him. But as you can see, it's not going very well.
Try and get him to turn his audio or his video off, it might come through better.
Brent, you've cut out twice for a lengthy amount of time. Someone suggested maybe turning
through the monetary model as an organization to be able to protect the.
Brent, we've lost you for 2 extended periods of time here. Is it possible for you to turn your video out and see what happens with the audio? On his end or? We lost him altogether now.
What about just using speakerphone?
I'm doing that right now.
Thanks, guys. Can't control technology.
I do apologize, certain things are
there. We lost you for two extended periods of time. We're wondering if you could, I don't know, restart from the beginning and then just like this on the speakerphone. The crowd expressed interest in you having come back to Grande Prairie, so you may want to address that as well.
Sure.
And then just kind of do a shorter version here, maybe 10, 15 minutes. And I think you've explained your flight situation. And I'll put you on speakerphone now and let you talk to the crowd.
Sure.
What's the best way here? Get away from that.
If you mute our end, it should loop.
Mute our end.
On your phone.
On the call, speakerphone, don't turn mute on our
Other than
side.
if you move the phone and the speaker behind that speaker, it won't do the howling reverb thing as bad. If we can.
You want to turn that speaker off? See what happens? We still got. Oh, okay. Brett, you still there?
I am, yep.
Okay, try again now.
Is that all right there?
About what we had before. Yeah. Go ahead.
But we're not losing you. We lost you for too long extensive time on the last call on when you tried last time. Go ahead.
Okay. Should I start over?
Yes.
Okay, sure. So I'll touch on just about what a credit union is and then why we're different from other credit unions. And then maybe just leave it there. Just this is probably what's best we get anyway. So firstly, credit unions are different from big banks for a number of reasons, and it all stems around our membership. So when you join a credit union, you buy common shares of the organization, and really what you are is a shareholder of the organization and you control of the organization. So you vote in board of directors, you pass bylaws, and basically dictate the direction of the organization. And another big thing that's different is that we pay profit share through our organization. So you're getting profit by being part of the organization. Another key difference is that all decisions are made locally. We're not sending decision making off to Toronto and like the bigger banks. And as well as we're 100% deposit guaranteed, which means all your deposits are backed up 100% within Alberta. And that's different from the bigger banks, which your CDIC insurance is only up to $100,000. Now, specifically what's different about Bow Valley Credit Union is three main things. We've been working on this for about 3 years now. But way back when they were mandating COVID vaccinations, we took a look at our value set and we thought to ourselves, we're not here to dictate health standards to anybody. We're not here to dictate any standards to anybody. We're here to provide a financial service to our membership and stop. We're not here to tell you to get a jab. We're not here to tell you a political affiliation. We're not here to hang flags in the window. We're not here to do any of that. We're here to provide a financial service to our membership. Secondly, which was a key difference between us and other credit unions, is during the trucker convoy, we never received any letter, email, or phone call regarding freezing people's accounts. And so we basically said to ourselves, we're not going to freeze anybody's accounts unless we receive an order from the RCMP or a court order or something like that. And that held pretty well with us because we didn't freeze anybody's accounts during the trucker convoy. And what was really baffling to us is that during the trucker convoy, ATB, TD, BMO, RBC, all of them, in our minds, were arbitrarily freezing people's accounts with little or no direction on what to do with that. So that did not sit very well with us, and I don't think it set well with Canadians because it really set a lot of people off that they could just arbitrarily freeze people's accounts. letter from say ETB, and it suggests that they're outside of their risk profile or something like that, and to clear out their accounts within 30 days. So it's still happening today. We're starting to see more people getting judged on their social credit score. For example, we've had a couple of cases in the last month or so where people had very strong credit ratings and were canceled out of their renewal of their mortgage. And the rationale that they gave behind it was that they did a social media search and didn't like what they were seeing online. So that's happening today. Another main difference between us and the other credit unions is what we were terming our gold initiative. So this started about the same time, about 3 years ago. We saw the massive amounts of currency printing that people were doing, or the government was doing. They were putting people out of work. They were making them stay at home. So basically, when that happens, supply of money goes way up, and the goods that people produce and services that they produce goes way down. So we knew it was going to be massively inflationary, and that's really what we're seeing today. We don't expect this inflation to go away anytime soon. We expect it to stay here for the foreseeable future. And so what we're doing to protect our organization as well as our membership is with this gold initiative. We're using some of the profits of our organization to purchase precious metals, mainly gold and silver. We have a physical precious metals program where you can actually buy physical precious metals, and we're considered a wholesale buyer. So any one of our members can actually get a discount on precious metals purchases. We can also help store it for you. And we're working on a couple of really unique initiatives where you can actually lend against your precious metals. And the lending standards are significantly less than you would normally have to do. So it's a little bit of paperwork, but not much. And you can get loans on your precious metals. And as well as we're working on finally a deposit initiative where you can actually deposit your cash into Bow Valley Credit Union, and we'll pay you a return for it. The money's guaranteed, but there's also an equity kicker component that if the price of precious metals goes up, then so does the value of your deposits. So hopefully, what this does is protects you as an individual against what we see as this inevitable inflation going forward. So maybe I'll just pause there and see if the audio is all right, and I can touch on a few other things if that's okay.
I think we heard you okay. Brett. I'll take there's questions from the floor, so I'll wait to get a question here and pass that on to you, and then put it back the same way.
Sure.
Okay, so Brett, can you hear me okay? Okay, we do have a couple of questions. Now, prior to you joining us this evening, I was explaining how municipal credit unions, the trend has been over the past 20 years, municipal credit unions have merged with regional credit unions. Regional credit unions have merged with provincial credit unions, and all credit unions are under the supervision of Alberta Central. So the question is, that trend of amalgamation, we believe the chartered banks have experienced let's call it a federal infiltration in terms of their own autonomy, and they do what they're told now. And we're concerned that the credit union may be experiencing the same thing. So are we outside of the province, or are we still Alberta credit unions?
One second, we have to put audio back. 1 second, I'll tell you when.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, go ahead, Brett.
Sure, yeah, just a few corrections there. So we're not under the supervision of Alberta Central. Alberta Central is actually a central body of administration behind the credit unions of Alberta. I think what you're thinking of is CUDG, so the Credit Union Deposit Guarantee Corporation.
Yes.
So they're our regulator within Alberta, which is a very good thing because it means that we're not dictated by another organization called OSFI, the Office of Superintendent of Financial Institutions. All the other bigger banks, like ATB, BMO, CIBC, TD, follow OSFI guidance. We do not follow OSFI guidance. So that becomes very important, and I can talk a little bit about that. So I think you're absolutely right that the bigger banks and even a lot of the bigger credit unions seem to be falling for this woke agenda. And we've done a lot to try and insulate ourselves from that. So interesting thing that happened during COVID, we made the decision not to force anybody to get vaccinated, and it didn't sit very well with some of the staff of the organization as well as some of the board members. And so we ended up winning that battle, but what happens is what those board members actually exited the organization, which actually made our organization stronger in our mandate that we weren't going to force people to get vaccinated. So we've worked quite hard, and now we've got to the point where we're a critical mass within not only the board, but as well within our membership that will never see this type of thing. And so we've put policies and procedures in place that would make it very, very difficult to do these types of mandates and that type of thing that infringe on people's liberties and freedoms. So addressing the concern about mergers and acquisitions, things like that, yeah, we've seen a lot of that type of thing, and especially in the Alberta system. We've been quite clear at the management and the board level that we're not interested in merging with any other credit union unless they want to join us and our value set. So that's a very different value proposition than, say, something like Service, where they're taking over a lot of the credit unions and basically forcing their agenda on them. And it's not necessarily that Service is bad or anything like that, but I think to some degree, woke mob has taken over Service, and then they get led around by the board and the membership to some degree, which we don't have a problem with just because of our value set, and we've taken quite a clear stance on that. So hopefully that answers a few questions. Just a little bit further around the difference between an OSFI regulated institution and a CUDG regulated. We're CUDG and the bigger banks are OSFI regulated. There's a number of things that are coming down from the federal level that the bigger banks will have to follow. One of them's B15, and that's a Climate Risk Mitigation Act. And basically, the crux of it is they'll make it a whole lot more difficult to get lending if they're of the opinion that you're emitting too many greenhouse gases. And so now, as we're regulated as an Alberta credit, we don't need to follow those standards like the bigger banks do. Another thing is open banking. You may not have heard of open banking, but just the elevator speech on it, really what it does is completely infringes on your personal freedoms by housing all of your personal financial information at the Government of Canada administration body. So all the bigger financial institutions are going to be forced into open banking, whereas again, we have the option legally that we can opt out of open banking, which is a very, very good thing. So again, maybe I'll just pause there and see if there's any follow-up questions.
Okay.
Or another question.
Okay, thank you very much. There was another question that we received. Has the credit union borrowed money from the Bank of Canada to fund loans to clients? If the answer is yes, then the credit union would have to have had signed a bail-in agreement, which means that this credit union has to follow the digital ID when it's implemented. Do you have comments on this, please?
I didn't quite catch all that. Raj, are you sort of close to the speaker that you could
Okay,
Closer to the phone, you can't
yeah,
hear.
okay, I'm gonna move in closer to the phone.
Get your mic, okay.
So the question was, has the credit union borrowed money from the Bank of Canada to fund loans to clients? If the answer is yes, then the credit union would have to have signed a bail-in agreement, which means that this credit union has to follow the digital ID when it's implemented. Do you have comments on that?
Yeah, sure. Am I at the right speaker level here?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, so firstly, the answer is no, we don't borrow money from the Bank of Canada. We work much differently than the Schedule of banks. The Schedule of banks have a direct line with the Bank of Canada where we don't. So we automatically can't get access to the Bank of Canada if we run out of funding. So it sort of goes into the next step of what I'm going to talk about, the bail-in process. This is pretty foreign to us as a credit union, and I'll tell you why. Because the banks, what they can do, they'll never tell anybody that they don't have enough money for lending. So if they don't have enough liquidity for lending, what they do is they bang on the door of the Bank of Canada. The Bank of Canada lends the money, and then they can fulfill the need for the loan. Whereas us as credit, we don't have access to the Bank of Canada. So we have to match our deposits, our loans to our deposits. So we can't get over our skis, and basically what that means is we can't lend more than we actually have deposits. So inherently, the theory or the thought behind the bail-in doesn't work at a credit union level. So, and secondly, part of what a bail-in is, they talked about basically the shareholders, anybody that's a deposit of the organization will get shares of the organization. So for example, if TD went broke, what they do is give you a bunch of TD shares, and aren't you lucky you have a bunch of shares of a bankrupt bank. So inherently within a credit union, again, that's not how we operate. So we don't actually have a public share structure. We have the structure where members actually purchase common shares, and so inherently it just doesn't work the same way as what they're talking about with the bail-in, and which is different from a bailout, and that's what they did in 2008. And basically what happened was the government gave the banks, not Canada, but just a bunch of money, and then that was considered a bailout. So hopefully that answers the question on that.
Okay, another question. Is there any feedback to what was just delivered there, folks?
Again, I'm having trouble hearing the question there.
Okay, I'll do one while Dave thinks of another one. There's and you guys are mostly a southern Alberta bank now. You're thinking of possibly coming to Grande Prairie. What are the details in making a regional Bow Valley Credit Union here in Grande Prairie?
Sure. So yeah, there's been an incredible amount of interest in having us in people's communities, and that was just based around our value set of an organization. And so part of the challenge is, even though we're considered a large, we just don't have the capital and the resources that say RBC does. You know, RBC is a $1 trillion in assets organization, where we're only close to about a $600 million organization. So we're much smaller in the grand scheme of things. So we can't really just plunk a branch anywhere we want without certain criteria around it. And so we put the criteria. About 3 years at the height of COVID, we built a branch in northern Calgary in Sage Hill. And just to give you some context, to make that branch sustainable, the full service branch of 8 people involves teller services, security, all the bells and whistles. That branch costs about $3 million in capital. and about $50 million in deposits and to make sustainable. And so we recognize that that's a pretty big hurdle rate for communities to sort of jump over. And so we bumped it down to a new model, which we're just terming a satellite branch, where we have a couple of staff and cash services and that type of thing. And with that type of branch, we only need about $1 million in capital and about $10 million in deposits. And the way we raise capital is through common shares. And so that's what I mentioned earlier. It is when you purchase common shares of the organization, you're actually investing into the organization. And it's not a bad deal. Last year we paid about a 6.5% dividend on that common share money. And we have been sort of on this path for about, since about the spring of last year, March of last year. And the community of Atchison sort of got a hold of this, and we're really wanting a branch of Valley Prairie there. So if you don't know where Atchison is, it's just west of Edmonton. It's a fairly major industrial park. About 10,000 workers come there a day. But anyway, they were very adamant that they wanted a physical branch location in Atchison, and they were able to put together that criteria in about 6 weeks' time. So they put together that criteria by about September. We now have an ATM operational in Atchison, and it should be staffed within about 6 weeks. So it doesn't take very long when you put your mind to it to get one of these branches up and running, and we're sort of making good on our promise that if you raise this capital, these deposits, that we'll set a branch in that location. Currently, the communities of Red Deer, Westbridge, Medicine Hat, and Bonnyville, Cold Lake are also right up there with contention of getting a branch. So that's a little bit about the criteria. I'm happy to sort of send you more documentation around that. But that's probably a good start to that question.
Okay, thank you very much, Brett. There's another question that there's a member that is concerned that the gold that the purchasing of metals by the credit union system may only be a paper acquisition and not an actual metal acquisition. Would you mind speaking to that, please?
Yeah, no, it's physical. I don't really believe in paper. And the rationale behind that question for the audience is there's thoughts there that there's 100 pieces of paper for title to every ounce of gold that's actually in existence. So if push actually came to shove and people wanted to take possession of their gold, 99 people would be very unlucky and not be able to get access. So we're quite adamant that it has to be physical. We store it both in our vaults as well as with our partners' vaults. Silver Gold Vault is our partner in this, and they have a vault in Northeast Calgary. It's state-of-the-art, brand new, 26,000 square foot facility. I know these two brothers that are the principals of it. They're Alberta born. They started their business in Rocky Mountain House, which in my opinion, is a much better situation because I can call them up in an hour. I can get access to my metals. Whereas with Brinks or somebody like that, I don't know who owns Brinks. I don't know who to call to get access to those metals. So yeah, a really good question. All physical, we hope.
On other podcasts, I've heard you talk about central bank digital currencies. Do you want to expand on that?
Sure. So central bank digital currencies, CBDCs, I'll term them as from here on in, so the simplest example that I can give is somebody has $100. So they have $100 in cash. It's your asset. And so once you deposit that into a financial institution, it's still an asset of yours, but it's a liability of the financial institution. So with the central bank digital currency, rather than having a bank with full value credit union, RBC, service, BMO, HCB, whatever it is, you have an account directly with the central bank of Canada. So basically, there would only be one financial institution in Canada. This is actually what they did in Soviet Russia. There was a central bank, and as well as a commercial bank, but there was only one commercial bank. So basically, the government can have complete control over your finances. So they could do things like tax you daily. They could put time limits on your money and basically say you need to spend it by the end of the week, otherwise it disappears. They could do stuff like shut down your account if you're supporting the wrong cause. They could shut down your account if you're buying too much meat or too much carbon or something like that. So inherently, you can see a very big totalitarian signal that why people are very concerned with central bank digital currencies. In the spring of 2023, the Bank of Canada put out a survey asking Canadians what they thought about a central bank digital currency. About 90,000 people responded, and the response was overwhelmingly bad. And that was even as a result of the questions being very skewed towards adopting a central bank digital currency. So the Bank of Canada has backed away from that to some degree. But it doesn't mean they're not going to try again with something, so I think we need to stay vigilant with that. But part of the challenge is there's a couple of things that are out there that I think are a much bigger risk than a central bank digital currency at this time. Number one is open banking. This is something that I mentioned a little bit earlier, and that's where basically there's a government administrative body, and if you subscribe to open banking, all of your personal financial information gets siphoned through this government agency. And it's not like it just grabs it from one place. What it does is go and grab it from everywhere. So it grabs it from insurance companies, the CRA, wealth companies, other financial institutions that you might be with. And so what it does is create the complete financial picture of you, which is now in the hands of the Canadian government. Full value credit is legally opting out of open banking, so we're not even opening the doorway for the information to be passed along to the government. It's important to check with your financial institution what their stance is on open banking. I would suggest that most of the majors have to subscribe to open banking, where we do not. So now, a second piece that I'm concerned with is not, CBC is not my top concern, is Bill B15. And I also mentioned this earlier, it's the climate risk mitigation bill. So what they're doing with this bill is making it very difficult for what they feel are carbon intensive industries, and basically forcing financial institutions to increase their capital requirement for lending to these organizations. So I said a lot of banking mumbo jumbo there. So what you need to know is that capital is very precious to financial institutions. It's probably the most important thing that a financial institution needs. And so you get that through common shares, or you get it through retained earnings or profitability of the organization. And you can't do any lending without capital. So what happens if today, full value credit, for every dollar in capital, we can lend out about $8 to, say, the oil and gas industry. Under this new B15, this new Climate Risk Mitigation Act, for every dollar that we lend out to oil and gas, it would cost us $1.56 in capital. And so that's a 1,250% increase in the capital requirements. for lending to oil and gas industries. And so now you may be thinking to yourself, well, I'm not in oil and gas, so I don't need to worry about this. But they expanded B15 to include just about every industry in Canada, including residential housing. So if you don't have a properly insulated house, you might not get the lending that you want. If you drive a diesel truck, you might not get the lending that you want. And I'm sure you would be able to find lending, but the thing is, rather than paying 3, 4, 5, 6% for a 25-year amortization mortgage, you might be looking at 12, 13, 14, 15% interest on your mortgage because you're not playing by their carbon emission rules. So now, once again, Bull Valley Credit Union is not going to be following these B15 standards. We can legally do that just because we have a different regulatory body than OSFI does. So, and it's important to note that ATP and all the bigger major banks follow the OSFI guidelines. So maybe I'll just pause there and let people catch the breath.
Okay, thank you very much, Brett. We do have another question from the floor. This question pertains to competing credit unions that are currently in the Grande Prairie area and in the Peace Country. And the question was, how would that affect the competitive landscape between credit unions, say if Bull Valley were to move into the area and be in direct competition with the Commonwealth? Just for an example, and there are other credit unions also, but is there any way that the credit unions could work together and not in the sense of amalgamation to the point where there's total centralization of authorities and we lose our local autonomy to make decisions on a board level? So, and sir, am I capturing your question fairly well?
Yeah, that's about where I was getting to.
Okay, good. Yeah, so that's the question, Brett. I'll leave it for you.
Is there service in there?
Yes.
There is a service credit union. I am not sure. Is there a Commonwealth credit union?
I think there's a Commonwealth.
There's a Commonwealth and a service.
There's a case. Case Horizon.
Case Horizon is also a credit. So there's three. Yeah, there's three that we know of, Brett, that are currently in the area.
Visions of that.
Yeah, Visions.
Visions and Peace River. Yeah, Visions, yeah.
So Visions and Peace River. So I know both the CEOs quite well of full service and Vision. Both of them are outstanding individuals. I think they're just top-notch people. I think probably Vision is the less woke of the two, if we may just say that. Service has been banging around in our backyard for quite some time and even gone into our geographic regions. So I'm not so concerned about having a conversation with their CEO and saying, hey, we're interested in going in your backyard. And there's really not much that they can do about it. As for working together, I'm going to have to think that through, how that might work. I don't think it's completely impossible because, in the major centers like Edmonton and Calgary, there's plenty of credit unions and there's not a ton of animosity between each other. And the main reason is why is because 86% of banking is done through the major banks. And so we're not really ever competing with each other because there's not business to go around. Now, going into Vision's area might change the dynamic to some degree. They've never stepped on our toes, so I don't know if there would be a gentlemanly agreement that we probably shouldn't step on their toes either. So that's probably the best answer I can give on that.
So, that's-
Are you satisfied with that? Yes. Okay, thank you very much, Brett. Are there any other questions for Brett from the floor? Yes, at the back.
How much capital is up in the Peace Country right now? He was referencing $1 million to open a branch and $10 million. How much capital and membership is there up in the Peace Country right now? And what do we need to do as a body that is here this evening to be able to reach those goals like he talked about?
Okay, questions from Life. He's saying how much the members' capital relative to 1 million and the 10 million you referenced earlier in the Peace Country. And as a group of members here in the room, what would be, could you expand anything further than what you said before on getting those dollar amounts?
Sure. I have to check on the exact numbers, but I don't think it's overwhelmingly high. Just off the top of my head, we don't do a lot of. There might be one or two members type thing, but that's about it. So now, actually getting it there. Currently, we have a bylaw where you're only allowed to purchase up to $5,000 in common shares. Some people love it because we give a dividend, and last year it was around 6.5% dividend on it. At this next AGM that we're having in February, which is about a month time for us, we're actually going to increase that common share limit because we have a lot of demand from higher net worth individuals that want to invest into their communities and want to basically a credit union in the community. And so we're gonna, it looks like we're gonna bump that amount to about 200,000. So you get some fairly well-heeled individuals together and they can put it together quite handily. And so in Atchison, they had about 200 businesses approach us and purchase common shares. So that's the way that they did it. I don't mind that method much at all because it's more of a grassroots approach to things. But you know, we want to be able to provide some people with options of how to get things going in the community as well. So hopefully that answers the question. I'm happy to sort of take and follow up.
Hey, I have a question. So how do people in Grande Prairie invest and or do business with Bow Valley?
Most people these days, sort of in our camp, want a physical location. But we do have the ability to do just about everything over the phone, online, through email. It's perfectly, we're perfectly capable of doing that. There's only a few things that we can't do, like to get change, like quarters, nickel, dimes. It's pretty tough to do that. Anything that needs sort of like a wet signature, like a ink signature, we can generally do, but it's sort of more of a step process. Even to get cash, we have what's called a DIN-free network across Canada. And our ATM network is actually bigger through the credit union system than RBC's. And so you can go to any credit union ATM across Canada, plug in your Bow Valley credit union or credit union debit card, and you can basically get cash out, make a deposit, transfer money, that type of thing. So generally, that takes care of, say, about 90% of what people need to do. But I have to stress, I recognize that people want a physical location, and so that's why it's so important that we get that going. So,
How do we buy shares?
oh, sure, yes. So you can actually do it online. You can sign up for an account. It takes about 5 minutes, and what you do is you just deposit it into the account, and then basically state, okay, I want these shares directed towards common shares, or this money directed towards common shares, And there's actually a drop-down menu that suggests, okay, if you have your ideal location for a branch, where would it be? And then you could plug in Grande Prairie as the location, and then you could be notified that common share deposit, that it's money going towards the Grande Prairie branch.
You had a question back.
There was a question back here first. Oh, right here, sorry. Okay, go ahead.
Starting today, how much time will be required to bring a branch to Grande Prairie?
Starting today,
I got it. Starting today, how much time would it take to get a branch in Grande Prairie?
Well, I guess a lot of it's up to the people. The thing is, we are, on Tuesday, I have a board meeting, and we're redesigning our model, just because the Atchison branch took too long in our minds. So it's basically made the decision in about September, and here it is January, that took about 4 months. So I think we could do it a lot faster than that. So with that new model in mind, really staffing is one of the biggest challenges, because we need to properly train people up and make sure that they can service the membership appropriately. So barring that on our side, it's really up to the Grande Prairie community and how quickly people can sort of pool their resources. And another interesting story around pooling resources is way back when in Quebec, the French-speaking people were sort of outside the financial system, because the English-speaking people controlled it. And so they wouldn't give them any place to put their money, and they wouldn't give them any loans and that type of thing, just because they didn't want the French-speaking people to get a leg up. Well, what the French-speaking people did is they said, to heck with you, and they pooled together the capital and created one of the largest financial institutions in Quebec. And today, it currently has 7.5 million members, the lion's share of the assets in Quebec, and it has so much political sway that it has its own act. It's called the Desjardins Act, and that today is Desjardins. And today, they continue to have considerable political sway with the government, because basically they speak as one voice as 7.5 million members together. And so the idea is to recreate something like that within Alberta, based around the philosophy of Old Alberta, of around freedom, liberties, and entrepreneurial spirit is really what we're trying to do. And being able to pool our capital together to do that is the starting place.
we had another question back here, sir.
Yeah, is there a cap on e-transfers for business for if you're accepting, or if you have to send out e-transfers?
Is there, for e-transfers, is there a cap on the amount that can be transferred?
And on a daily amount?
We're working on those. Usually, it's businesses that have the biggest challenge with that, especially if they're using it for payroll. We do have options that you can use AFTs or EFTs for payrolls, which works quite well, but we recognize people operate with their needs differently. We're working on increasing those limits to be unlimited for businesses. But right now, we're basically restricted by what Interact dictates to us. So that's something that we are working on, but there are limits. Put them sort of as high as Interact will let us. But sometimes we find that businesses, if they're doing the payroll, will bump up against that limit often. So.
There's a question, what is that limit now?
So on a personal basis, I think it's 3,000 per day and 20,000 per month. At a business level, I think it's about 30,000 per day and 600,000 per month.
So.
Okay, we got another question here.
Does the share price of Bow Valley, does it fluctuate at all?
The shares, are they like a fluctuating public share, or is that just tied to the dividend?
No, it's so basically the share is only unique to you. So we create the share when you purchase it. You do have the ability to transfer it to like family members or, you know, your spouse or your kids and that type of thing. But generally what happens is, you know, say you want to part ways with us or something like that, you say, okay, I want my shares back, you get your shares back, and basically it disappears, so they can't be traded. So that they're not marketable security, and that's how you don't have to register with the Alberta Securities Commission or the SEC and that sort of thing, so.
Okay, there's another question at the back.
What kind of process would it look like for like switching your current mortgages and accounts over to Bow Valley?
If someone had an account and a mortgage at another facility, what kind of process would be involved in switching that over?
Okay, sure, yeah, and let me start off by saying if your mortgage you're getting a good rate on, I would propose that you break the terms of that and pay a bit fee and that type of thing. Like it's just not worth it to be able to do that. But yeah, it really just starts with opening up an account and starting the conversation. You know, if your mortgage isn't up for another 6 months, we have plenty of time to have a conversation about getting you financing and getting you set up and that type of thing. So, as mentioned before, we can do pretty much everything over the phone and email. With something like a mortgage, we do require a wet signature. That's not our rule. That's Alberta land titles. But what we can do is usually find a law office that's willing to witness you sign it, and so you don't have to make a trip down to anywhere, and it works quite well. So.
Any other questions?
What's the lending rate?
The question is, what is the lending rate?
The rate, sorry?
The question is, what is your current lending rate?
Oh boy, I'm testing my memory now. I think on 5-year conventional, we're about 5.89. On insured product, I think we're about 5.79 for a 5-year. We do have some pretty favorable 3 and 4-year products as well as the insured right now. Hopefully that gives a pretty good flavor, but you can go online at bowvalleycredit.com and we post all our rates there as well. So.
Okay, another question at the back.
Yeah, so if we all start opening up accounts, does that kind of go like within the location to, you know, towards the statistics to make a branch here?
Yes.
So Brett, I'm able to answer this question. It's how do you know if it's the new deposits to Grande Prairie? I just opened up my account at Bow Valley in the last few weeks. And there's a pull down that you do choose Grande Prairie. And like Brett alluded to, it ties you to that you're a potential Grande Prairie member and that you're counted in that number.
And the thing is, like, I'd love to be able to guarantee that we can stick a branch there, but the thing is, if there's just not enough interest to make it sustainable, that's not really good for anybody. You know, if we stuck in a branch and we realize it's unsustainable, then we have to basically come out of the community. So we want to be able to ensure that it's sustainable basically day one. So.
Any other questions? Yes.
If someone wants to start a relationship with Bow Valley, what is the best process? Is it just going to the website? Or is there a better process? He's talked about email, phone. What's the best process for someone to open up an account and start a relationship, as has been talked about here this evening?
So what's the best way to start the relationship with Gold Valley? By phone, by email, checking the website, or other?
Probably by far right now. So we're quite run over with business right now. So the fastest way to do it is just online, opening up an account there. That way you'll be connected with a branch manager quickly, and we'll get you set up with your needs much quicker. If people want a more personal touch, we could always get an appointment, and if you're coming down to sort of the Calgary region or around Atchison when that's open, we can arrange that. But what I would do is encourage you to make an appointment. Don't just show up just because we are pretty booked these days. So number one, the best way would be just online, and you can sign up as a membership there, and you can poke around and check out what we're about, and happy to sort of answer any questions beyond that. And we have a welcome email address where they're really good at getting back to people with any questions that they might have as well. So.
Okay, another question at the back. Okay, pass. Another question.
So if we were to buy gold assets through Gold Valley, I guess we pretty much have to come to Calgary or a branch to pick it up, physical assets, or how does that work?
If someone was interested in buying gold assets from the Gold Valley Credit Union, would they have to go down to Calgary to pick it up, or what would be the process?
No, so what you do is just go through our website, and we have a link in there. Basically what it does is links you to our partner, Silver Gold Bowl. And since it's coming from our website, it knows that you deserve the wholesale discount rate. And Silver Gold Bowl are fantastic to work with. I can't speak highly enough about these people. And what happens is that you purchase your precious metals online, it gets delivered discreetly to your home. It's all insured. We've never had a problem with any of our members with them. It's a high quality product. It comes quickly, very discreetly, securely. We're quite happy with the process, how it works. So you don't need to make a journey down. So, funny story about that. One time, we ordered quite a sizable amount of gold. It was about $800,000 worth. And then this UPS guy comes in and sort of plunks it on the desk and walks away, and nobody had to sign for it or anything like that. It was just this really heavy box that was sitting on the table. I knew what it was, but nobody else did. So, quite discreet.
Is there a question on like the paperless scenario? Because I don't deal with like a lot of things online. You have to tell us and ATB and everybody every year I have to fight to basically get my bills or like invoices. So I'm just curious on O'Reilly's take on that.
I think the question is clearly this member has got to fight to get the statements, I think, hard copy. And how is there such a fight to get hard copy statements from Gold Valley Credit Union?
No, you can have paper copies. Number one, if you're over 65, you get them for free. And I think if you're under 65, they're $1 or something like that. And we might not even charge that. So no, paper copies. I love paper.
I've got got one more question here.
Is Brett aware of the CBDC situation in Nigeria, Westbrook?
Can you speak on the CBDC situation in Nigeria?
Sure. So, yeah, Nigeria has tried to implement CBDCs. I think it's 3 times they tried to do it. The government tried to implement it. If you know anything about Nigeria, they've had significant inflation for the better part of my lifetime, I think. And so it's just governments continuing to print currency, so it's just completely unstable. And so what they wanted to do is implement a CBDC, and I think that's ultimately why they want a CBDC, is because they can inflate away your savings and spend it on government goodies the whole time. In Nigeria, it went over notoriously bad. Only 0.5% of the population ever used their central bank digital currency. They tried using a carrot by suggesting, oh, look at this, use this CBDC, I'm going to put a bunch of money in there. People still didn't use it. They tried to use a stick and say you can't take out more than the equivalent of $10, $20 per week or per month or something like that. It still didn't work. And the thing is the population was wise to what the government was up to and realized that they did not want to store their hard-earned money in a government currency that was constantly being devalued. So they ultimately gave up, and so the people won at the end of the day. Now, just a little bit further to that, what probably my bigger concern is in Canada is central bank digital currencies goes hand in hand with universal basic income. And so this has come up a few times in the past couple of weeks of the Liberals proposing universal basic income. I think you consider a price tag about $2,000 around it. And so what the challenge is within Canada is there's a lot of desperation out there. And it's not necessarily this group, but that I'm concerned about this. But what about that single parent that can't put food on the table or can't put a roof over their heads? They're clamoring for politicians to put something like this in place. And so right at the same time, they implement a central bank digital currency, universal basic income. Your universal basic income gets deposited directly to your central bank digital currency account, and you use it from there. And you know, when people are in the mode of desperation, they don't have a lot of foresight to see where this is going. And that's probably my biggest fear around things like central bank digital currencies and universal basic income, because universal basic income, I've been quite adamant that it was very, very, very bad. Not only from the inflation perspective, because we don't have the tax revenue to pay for this, we have to print the currency, but also you start going farther and farther down that road towards that socialism, Marxism, communism pathway. And in addition to that, I think COVID proved quite handily that if people have the opportunity not to work and get paid, they will take advantage of it. So that will just more people sucking off the welfare state depending on the government further and further. So there's probably more than you want to know about that.
I think there's going to be interest for you to come back, maybe to this crowd and maybe a bigger crowd in the near future. I'll let you continue organizing that with Life and Darlene. I'm not sure. I know you offered to pay your own trip to come down in your own hotel room, but there's still the cost of the hall. So I'm sure if somebody really wanted their refund for tonight, they could. But I'm going to say there's still the cost of this hall, and then there's going to be the cost of the next one. If they have a surplus, I'm sure they'll put those proceeds into maybe making the next event free. Darlene, I don't want to speak for you or Life, but that's probably something like that. We're not here to make a profit out of tonight, really, it was just to cover the cost of the venue. And Brett, thanks for offering to fly down and to pay your own accommodations, we appreciate that as well.
How many people would come back to see Brett and talk to him in person?
Dave just asked that the room of about 50 to 60 people, how many? 90 people. Wow. And how many would come back? And I saw a vast majority of the hands go up that they'd be interested to meet you in person.
Well, that's fantastic. Well, thanks for bearing with me and coming out and breathing weather here to listen to a banker accountant. So really appreciate it. And apologies on not being able to make it in person.
Yeah, just our luck that we planned it on the coldest night so far this winter. That's good. All right, people are getting up. Thanks again for your time, Brett, and we'll see you soon.
Thank you very much, Brett. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. And we're gonna hang in there and travel out on these roads in this temperature. That shows the resilience that is true to Albertans. So take care. And we're going to see you real soon. Keep in touch. We'll keep in touch with information on when Brett is able to come back in person. Ladies and gentlemen, if you like what you've heard tonight and you want to become members of the Alberta Prosperity Project, please stop by and see those lovely ladies at the back table, and they can help you out in that respect. Also, please get involved in your chapters. We need you folks. You need us. We need you, and it could be a great thing for all of us moving forward. Have a safe trip, everybody, and good night. Thank you so much for coming.